welcome everyone. मेरे साथ हैं रमेश sir, and again we are here to listen to sir's viewpoints on the market and of course union budget. Sir, markets are on very close to all-time highs again. Union budget आया है, markets थोड़ा सा shake हुए, but then again I think they are now happy today again. They are green again today. What is your outlook on the markets right now? With or without, should we consider this an event, an important landmark for the markets or not? Otherwise, what's your outlook right
First, in a country which is growing at 6 to 7% on real terms, and if you add 5% inflation, long-term Indian corporate earnings have grown about 12%, 12, 30, and so in any asset where income is growing at 12% per annum, so in 2 years, that 12% when you compound becomes 25%. And when you compound 12% for 3 years, it becomes 40%. So it's very natural that in a country where the corporate earnings would grow at 12%, say long term, markets will hit all-time high regularly. Think about very simply that our earnings grow 1% per month. And when people talk about all-time high, I think India is all-time high in everything. If you ask the people around, we have the all-time high population. We have all-time high, people's incomes. Even their expenditures are all-time high, by the way. So in a country which is growing at 12% per annum, it is a problem if we don't hit an all-time high every second year. That means your incomes have grown by 25%, but market is not responding, right? Which means there's some structural problem in the market. So in the last 25 years or like 15 years, we have hit an all-time high. So hitting all-time high is a feature of the Indian economy. It is not a problem. आप ये समझिए, this is a reason we should be happy we hit all-time high. Property prices are hitting all-time high, car sales are hitting all-time high. Just about so many metrics, power consumption, exports, a lot of things in India continuously hit all-time high every second year. So this is a very natural course of how compounding works. So इसको तो discussion होना ही नहीं चाहिए all-time high पे. The question to ask is, are the valuations correct? That is the real question to ask.
Right. So let's get to that question, sir. I think, in fact, the economic survey talks about our market cap to the GDP is on the higher side right now. So is that justified? What's your outlook on that?
Yeah, so one, if you can break up the market into a few segments, you can, and we'll do both market cap and then industry segments also. So if we talk about first market cap categories, and I divide the market into 4 categories, basically large cap, mid cap, small cap, and then micro cap and SME is one bucket of the market. The worst, highest valuation are in the smallest businesses and companies. And जैसे हम ऊपर जाते हैं, when we move from SME to micro to small to mid to large, valuations keep falling. So today, the risk curve in India is invert. Normally, people think small cap में higher growth आएगा, higher return आएगा. ऐसा होता नहीं है, but people think. But today, it's very clear to me that the smallest companies in the market are the biggest risk segments. The best returns are actually going to come from the large caps over a 3 to 5 year market cycle. As of now, where valuations stand. So today there is exuberance in SME, micro caps, small caps, and it's a very normal market in large caps. So the answer is very simple. Large caps are attractive, and use pharma sector, the whole sector. Those are the 2 real attractive buckets of the market, where fundamentals are good and valuations are good. Other spaces, some are more normally valued, and then I clearly called out where that exuberance lies. And see, while I can't predict what happens to these spaces on a 6 months or a 1 year basis, what happens to the stock prices over a long term, see, corporate earnings are like gravity. Rocket can take its own fuel and go up, but finally the gravity comes into play. So ultimately, valuations are like gravity, and retail investor exuberance in these spaces does not help. And in fact, what is going to happen in the process is poor quality of promoters, poor quality of IPOs will happen. So wherever there's greed, there's going to be supply of capital, supply.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely, sir. So, talking about a little bit more about these sectors and their valuations, I think there are a few sectors which have run up wildly in the past few months, be it defense, power is yet another. You talked about renewable power already. Uh, People at one point they do have their own stories that yes, India is a about to become a superpower, and thus investment has to come there and has to go there. But the kind of run up they've seen, people at the same time are also a little skeptical about whether there's still some steam left in these sectors. Then people, this is one set, and then there's another set which people are going by the current union budget. For instance, agriculture is one theme which maybe people are talking about a lot right now because they are expecting a lot of money to flow into, let's say, fertilizers or something like that. So, what's your outlook on these scenarios?
No, so great. First, coming to, sectors like defense and all. See, even if the economic opportunity is large, and that is admittedly so in defense, what matters for returns is often the starting valuations over a longer period. So let me remind you, if you think of 2000 year, that's where there was a peak in tech stocks for a few years. The big companies in India, I'm doing an example of, let's say, someone like Infosys or Wipro, continue to do very well for many years. They continue to grow at high rates for many years, but they took 7, 8 years to get to the same price after doing well for 7, 8 years. So why valuations matter? So clearly, while defense is an opportunity, the starting valuations in many of these stocks are hard to justify, to make the kind of returns we aspire to make. So that is a clearly a caution. That does not mean every defense stock is bad. There are select pockets within that. And remember, in defense, the only buyer is the government. And government's priorities at any point, and you articulated that the current priority is more on other parts of the market, other parts of the economy. So those priorities will also dictate short-term trends, short-term priorities. What are immediate, which is articulated in the budget. So clearly there are problem pockets there. Now coming to where the money is going in the budget, clearly there are larger allocation in this budget towards certain spaces, particularly on agri, rural, uh, and money will flow there, part of the money. That's where the budget, the EMO budget is. Now to understand and dissect where the money goes. Now you use the word agriculture. Agriculture is a very broad basket opportunity. Money in agriculture may go on irrigation projects or water projects where opportunity will get created for EPC companies and cement and steel and all that stuff. Fertilizers, a good portion of the fertilizer, by the way, is a regulated business. So just because people buy more fertilizers does not mean these companies will make more money, right? It's a many times those are regulated return businesses, right? So
Right.
that aspect has to be there. And in many ways, sometimes the way to think is when the farmer gets the money, where will he invest? So I'll just let's say he or she may buy a tractor, which is where private companies participate. He may invest more in agriculture pipes and all, or he may choose to use that income to consume. So companies which are on the consumer side on rural India may do well. So at the margin, and it is already apparent to us that uh, already the rural India was not doing well, going into elections. Things had slightly improved at the time of elections, and at the margin, the sentiment on that side will clearly improve with all the money getting directed here. At the same time, let's be very clear, this budget has been very balanced in terms of spending. They have kept financial prudence, discipline in mind. So it's not like a large amount of money being given away to spend on this part of the economy. So in fact, things that were very bad there, they'll probably become, hopefully they surely become less bad, and hopefully they'll become better. But would these spaces start becoming exuberant? That is less sure of.
Absolutely, sir. Sir, another aspect that is a theme that has been playing out recently has been the PSU sector in general. For the past decade, I think 2010 to 20, they were pretty much silent and nobody was talking about them. And then suddenly everybody is catching on, hopping on this train of PSUs. At the same time, there's also a parallel theme of disinvestment or divestment that the government is going on about. So what is your outlook on PSUs from here now onwards?
Yeah, so first on disinvestment and divestment, clearly, if you hear the budget space, that was not a topic of agenda, right?
Yeah,
The finance
yeah.
minister did not uh, speak on that
Talk
topic.
about it.
So that tells you that it is not probably the predominant agenda as we speak, right?
Hmm.
So that is important to understand. Now coming to the topic of PSUs. Now PSUs have done spectacularly well. It is for now many years the best part of performing part of the market, right? Now coming to when you think about there has been a big re-rating of PSU stock valuations across the board. Now I think the valuations have become in line with private sector, or the discount is only not very large relative to, like for example, there was a situation but when you compared private banks versus PSU banks, PSU banks were at half price to book. Some of the best run PSU banks were at 0.5, private banks were at 3 times price to book. So there was 6x multiple. Now, what is the difference? PSU banks are all at 1 or above, close to those levels. And private banks are at 1.8 to 1.5 to 2. So the valuation gap is significantly narrowed. And by the way, that's played out across the sectors. So from here onwards, it is going to be stock specific and not PSU basket as a basket. That's our view. There are there are some PSU stocks that we, considering their business fundamentals, we believe they are egregiously valued as we speak. They don't have the kind of fundamentals which the valuations today imply, right? And then there are well-run PSUs where valuations are reasonable and one can allocate capital. So it is going to be very stock specific as we speak.
Absolutely, sir. And sir, finally, before we part, if you can give us one final concluding piece of advice for our viewers out there that they must always take care of, be it related to the budget or otherwise in general, that would be.
See, I think the budget, there's of course a lot of news on the budget about tax hikes and not giving enough tax concession on the for the middle class, right? But aside from that issue, where a lot of people have issue with the taxes that has been imposed, I think the budget has been a very good budget. A lot of physical discipline, same policies. We don't have money being spent like giving blowing up the budget, right? It's a very disciplined, focused, a lot of focus again on capex, on infra and all. So it's the same set of policies that continue. India's country fundamentals remain very robust, right? And we will continue to remain one of the fastest growing large economies. Corporate fundamentals are good. Government finances are reasonable. External account is reasonable. Bank balance sheets are very strong. Lot of sectors of the Indian economy are doing well, and there are early opportunities on transition to manufacturing. Early signs of movement there. So all aspects, things are fine. Stay invested. That is the message. Don't try to get the 5% move in the market, right? Thinking that you can take off money now or get back later. Often the market will, like a lot of people got disheartened after the budget or after, by the way, the best example of how short-term thinking does not work is the election results, right? People thought it
Yeah,
was an unexpected election result. Market fell for a couple of days and then we are much
yeah,
higher than, right? So that tells you trying to be smart or about a lot of these small variations in market does not help. In fact, over time it hurts. I'm sure
yeah,
a lot of people will now wait to invest when the market comes to the pre-election level, right?
yeah,
Because now they've been have a feeling of left out. Similarly, the
yeah.
market has not reacted to the budget. In fact, it's holding up quite well. So tells you don't things don't matter. Don't focus. I'm going to now quote in Hindi. बुल में इन्वेस्ट सब करे, बेर में करे ना कोई, जो रेगुलर इन्वेस्ट करे, वेल्थ काहे ना क्रिएट होए. I hope I'm now able to follow that. Basically, invest regularly to create wealth. SIP is the way.
Absolutely, sir. Very well said, sir. With that, sir, first of all, thank you so much for your time. And also, I hope you'll allow us to learn more from you and do more of such sessions together.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all related documents carefully before investing.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.